Welcome to Brothers of the Word, because, brother, you need the Word. And today I am still in the midst of a sermon that God had me to deal with a series basically of the 8 mission statements of the company that Pastor James and I are part of. And I didn't really fully understand why you want me to talk about corporate and company mission statements, but each one of those statements, they have a relationship and a relevance, and they pertain to our own lives. Because my biggest corporation, to be honest about it, is me Incorporated. I have more trouble out of me than any other corporation, period. And when I can get me Incorporated straight, oh, the world goes a whole lot smoother. So a lot of this pertains and relates to you Incorporated. Even though it may be Century Systems Incorporated, it may be our mission statement, these 8 principles, they relate to you Incorporated. And today is principle or our mission statement number 5, which states, we shall strive to be the best in products and service. No company shall offer a better product value. We shall strive to be the best. 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 7 says this, but since you excel in everything, in faith, in speech, in knowledge, in complete earnestness, and in the love we have kindled in you, see that you also excel in this grace of giving. Here, Paul is telling the church at Corinth, y'all are the best at everything. You've excelled in faith. You've excelled in the way you talk. You've excelled in the knowledge that you've gained. You've excelled in being earnest. You've excelled in love, and I want you to also to excel in giving. Paul said, I want you to be the best at everything. And this is the statement that God spoke to me, that in product and service, no company shall offer a better value. We're supposed to be the best in everything, and it has pivoted us into some areas, and it has kept us out of some areas. See, when you follow God's directive, it will lead you to some places, but it will also keep you from some places. God's directive is both prohibitive and directional. It's just like all of his laws. There are 613 laws. There are 365 not to do's, and the rest of them are things to do's. So in God's law, there are some things that he'll tell you to do. There are some things that he'll tell you not to do. So we've got this command. Basically, everything we make needs to be the best. And sometimes when we look at something, and if we can't make it the best, we don't make it. Now, we can duplicate it. We can make it good, but that wasn't God's command. So I don't want you good. I want you to be the best. And see, when we make products, we ask ourselves this one question. What am I looking for in a product to take? That's what we ask. You know, what James and I, when we get together, what would we want to take? What am I looking for in something I want? Even in my personal supplement world, and we primarily, for those of you watching by television, you don't know, we primarily make nutritional supplements at thewoman.com, the power of Mother Nature. And I take every day, I take Years Plus, which is our multivitamin, and I take 7 Shields. And with 7 Shields and Years Plus, there's no better product. There's no better multivitamin that I can take. There's no better immune supplement that I can take. If I want to keep my blood pressure down, there's no better product that I can take than Heart Miracle. And I remember once our national sales manager, he was talking with the buyer of this big chain of stores, and the buyer was saying, I'm not going to put your Heart Miracle on the shelf. And He said, because if I put this product on the shelf, it's got so much in it, it would kill the sales of a lot of my other products because all your product got everything in it. And it's like that. We developed Heart Miracle after my brother Darryl passed away. And James and I were looking at stuff and looking, we need to be taking something because Darryl was only 38. My daddy had a heart attack at 45. We got this genetic tendency. We need all this supplementation we can take. But James says, I can't find any single product on the market that will work. We got to take 3 or 4 of them. He said, that's just too much stuff to be taken. So that's how Heart Miracle came about. So this big buyer with all these stores, he said, I'm not putting your product on the shelf because if I put your product on the shelf, it'll kill the sales of this, it'll kill the sales of that, it'll kill the sales of this because your product got all this stuff in there. He said, I ain't putting it on the shelf. He said, but I take it myself. So this what happens when you make the best. I use Miracle Lotion. I put Miracle Lotion literally, that's the only product that I use on my body externally, other than toothpaste, is Miracle Lotion. I put it on from the top, it's in my hair, I put it on from the top of my head, literally to the bottom of my feet. I actually rub it under the body. My whole body is covered in Miracle Lotion. I don't use it every day, I use it every other day. Because it lasts for 2 days. It really, even through a shower, it still lasts for 2 days. So I put Miracle Lotion on my body every day. For those of you who want a liquid multivitamin, if you go into a GNC store, anywhere in the country, and you ask them what's the best liquid multivitamin I can buy, they're all going to tell you Miracle 2000. So it's like this. We develop products where it's the best on the market, period. Our former barber, one day he was back in the makeup room and he was talking with the makeup artist and he said, you know, I found this product and I mean, this thing is good. It's got all these YouTube reviews on. I've been looking for a detox product. This thing just got all these YouTube reviews on talking about how great this product is. These people just talking about it, just raving about it. So I bought it. This stuff is good. This is just good. It's a product called a cleaner. And it was Aphrodite back then. She said, you do know that's Pastor's product, don't you? He said, no. He looked for and found the best. So that was a command of God that he gave us that both sends us in certain directions and it keeps us out of other directions. Martin Luther King Jr. said this in one of his most famous quotes. If a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the host of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. Whatever you do, you ought to strive to be the best. And it's one thing I'm so proud of this generation that's coming up. I hear their GPAs. I had a little bit different striving in my academic career. I'm just straight with stuff. I was glad to pass. I'm just being honest. I had this IQ that was through the roof. I could make an A on anything I wanted to do, but that wasn't my goal. My goal was just to pass. All I wanted to do was pass. I didn't give a hoot about making A's. All I wanted to do was pass. Now, I had a ton of knowledge. At that age, I literally read a book a day. So my knowledge was not necessarily coming from school. I gleaned from a whole lot of places. But my academic desire, all I wanted to do was just pass. I'm hearing some of the kids here, I heard yesterday, one of the fellas I work, he said his son had a 4.5 GPA. I said, how do you get a 4.5? Now, I've heard of a 4.0, a 4.1, a 4.2. How in the world did you get a 4.5? So the children today, James talks about his kids, you know, they've got 101s and 102s. As long as I was a 71, I was fine. But you see, I didn't have I didn't have the mentality to be the best. All I wanted to do was pass, and I wanted to have certain knowledge that was necessary. Now, when I went to school, I was the first black person who ever got a chemistry degree. All the other black folk couldn't make it through the chemistry department, so I was the first. I was glad to pass. I was glad to get out of that passing. So it's a mentality. Now, if I were in my current mentality, I would change that. I would strive to be the best. Some of us right now, we're not striving to be the best. All we're striving to do is just get by. We're striving to just pass. If we go to work, all we want to do is do the minimum we can do to keep from getting fired. The minimum we can do to keep from getting fired. But what happens when we change our mentality from passing to excelling? Like Paul said to those Corinthians, you've excelled in everything. Suppose we were to change our mentality to where we excelled in everything. That's why God has even told me about my health. You're not going to be in the middle. You're not going to just pass. I'm not going to allow you to just pass. You're going to either be terrific or terrible, one of the two. You're not going to be in the middle. The middle is comfortable. It's where we can relax. We don't have to stress. We don't have to strain. But if you're going to go to the top of anything, the top is never going to be the middle. You know what the average, you know what the middle is? The middle is the worst of the best and the best of the worst. That's what the middle is. It's the best of the worst and the worst of the best. God wants us to excel in everything we attempt to do, in everything we put our hands to do. Now, it doesn't particularly mean you're going to be the best in the world, but you ought to give it your best. And that's the difference. And that's why he told us even with the company. Now, what we thought at first was just something to try to make us have very good products. Now, it has made such a business difference because if you're like everybody else, you become what's called a commodity. But with our products, it's just nothing else like it. If you want it, it's just nothing else like it. So therefore, our sales have constantly gone up and up and up and up with literally no advertising. People just, remember when I talked about customer service and the customer will do three things? They buy your product, they'll repeat buy your product, and that third level of customer, they refer it. That's why the barber could find all those YouTube reviews. And they had all these YouTube reviews just selling people and just selling. It's people on the internet who are influencers just talking about the product. We've never paid them a penny. They just talk about it because it's good. When you make the best, when you build a better mousetrap, the world will be the path to your door. So I want to ask you, what are you striving to be the best at? My youngest son, George, he's got a note on his door that he's written that says, I am going to be the number one debater in the world in 2021. Not number two, not in the top 10. Now, whether or not he can be the number one debater in the world, I don't know. But I do know he has a better shot at it than somebody who doesn't have a sign on the door. He has a target at it. And wherever you have targeted your mind, it will help to galvanize you. See, it does two things. It'll tell you a direction to go in, and it'll tell you a direction where you can't go in. He realized, I got to come off these video games. I can't spend 3 hours a day playing video games and be the best debater in the world. I got to do something different if I want to be the best, because the best debater in the world right now is not playing video games. So when you have decided to become the best at anything, it will change your path. Now, I have a supplement pack that I take every day. I open all of my capsules. I put them in these little jars. I'm going to tell you what I got in my supplement pack. I've got 5 items. I have 5 capsules of Years Plus. I open the capsules, dump them in the jar. I have 2 capsules of 7 Shields. Those are the 2 products we make. I've got 3 more products in there. We don't make them. I have a beet powder, Green Vibrance green powder, and a protein powder. Well, Pastor, why don't you make the beet powder? Why don't you make the green powder? Why don't you make the protein powder? We can. But we decided not to try to make those products because we can't make them any better. When we looked at the green powders, Green Vibrance, so we just can't improve on that. It's good. So I just bought theirs. Looked at the protein powder. We just can't improve on that. It's good. So I just bought theirs. Now, business logic would have said, if you got all this distribution, why don't you just go ahead and copy theirs and make another product? No, that's not what God told us to do. If you can't make it better, don't make it. And that's the philosophy that we have followed. And sometimes we have people come to us with all these different ideas. Why don't you make this? Why don't you make that? We can't make it better. And if we can't make it better, we don't do it because that's what God told us to do. And when you do what God tells you to do, there's just a blessing in the obedience. And there's some things that sometimes you don't understand about it. But people, we need to gear our minds to giving God our best. Numbers 18:29 says this: you must present as the Lord's portion the best and holiest part of everything given to you. You must present as the Lord's portion the best and holiest of everything given to you. This was relating to the sacrifice. You couldn't bring a sheep or a goat or a dove to be sacrificed unto God that had a blemish. They had to be perfect. Some of us will bring God our blemished stuff. We'll bring God the second stuff. God said, no, don't bring anything to me that's got a blemish. Matter of fact, you can't even have a priest that's blemished. You can't have no limp priest. You can't have a eunuch priest. He went down the list of all these priests that couldn't be messed up. You can't even have no messed up priest coming to me. No, all the sacrifices and all the priests don't need to have blemishes. God says, I want you to give me the best of what you have, not your leftover. I want you to give me the first, your finest, your best. Are you giving God your first, your finest, your best? I want you to think of your favorite TV show. Your favorite program. It may be a streaming program, maybe something comes on live TV. I want you to just take just 5 seconds and just think about your favorite television program. Now, my wife and I, sometimes we watch a lot of Netflix series together, and we just got through watching this series called Lupin. And had a little issue with Lupin because we were sitting there watching Lupin, and we watched them all together. And I was getting ready to go, and my wife said, I'm getting ready to watch me another episode. And I just looked, I said, but I'm getting ready to go. She said, I'm getting ready to watch me another episode. So she hit the remote to play the next episode, and we had just watched episode 5, and the screen come up saying, end of this season, Lupin starts new season next year. And she said, what? I said, sweetheart, the heavens themselves knew you weren't supposed to watch that episode without me. So it ended right there. But the thing about it, I want you to think about, what is your favorite television show? And I want you to think about this. What do you do not to miss your favorite television show? Sometimes now with our favorite television shows, because they're series and they're streaming, we do what's called binge watching. What do you do not to miss your favorite television show? Before we had VCRs, people would make sure if it came on at 7 o'clock on Sunday night, they were sitting in front of the TV 7 o'clock on Sunday night. If the stories that came on at 1 p.m., they were in front of the TV at 1 p.m. They made sure they recorded. What would you do to watch your favorite TV show? You gave that favorite TV show, which has given you nothing but amusement and entertainment, your best. You gave it your best attention. You gave it your best time. You made sure nothing. Don't bother me. I'm watching my story. They don't call them the stories now. That's what they used to call soap operas back in the old day. They would call it the stories. Don't bother me now. My story coming on. Don't bother me. My story coming on. When is the last time you have told anybody, don't bother me, this is my Bible time? Don't bother me now. Don't bother me. This is my Bible time. I'm spending this time with God. When is the last time you have given anything of God the same focus, the same priority that we give our favorite television show? And that's why God tells you, I want your best. Don't bring me no blemish stuff. I want your best. Don't bring me the time that now everything. I don't seen everything else and I ain't got nothing else to do. I think I may need to spend a few minutes reading my Bible. Don't bring me no blemish stuff. Bring me your finest. Bring me your best. That's why God has me get up in the morning at 5. The first thing you do. Now, the first thing I do may be go use the bathroom. But after that, first thing I do is do my prayer. The first priority is God. If I'm giving you everything, if I'm providing everything, I'm laying it out, I'm protecting you, the first thing, I want you to give me your best. I want you to give me your first fruits, your first mind. So sometimes with so many of us, the first thing we need to do is give our time to God. I want your best, is what God told the people. You must present as the Lord's portion the best and holiest part of everything given to you. And one of the main things given to you is time and energy and focus. God says, I want your best. I want your finest, and I want it first. And when we will do that, every company meeting that we don't have a meeting that we don't open up in prayer. And I know, said, Pastor, you know, that ain't even legal. I don't know whether it's legal or not, but I don't give a hoot. I really don't know whether it's legal or not. We don't force anyone to pray. If they don't want to pray, they don't have to pray. But our meetings open up in prayer. There's a blessing that flows with that because we understand it's God who has given us everything. See, the cleaner is the #1 detox product on the market right now. But that product came from a word from God. It came in 2006, and God spoke to me. He said, I want you to do a 3-day seminar on health. And I want you to charge $29.95 for it. It was a total departure from anything we'd ever done because we had never charged for any event at the church ever. So I want you to do 3 days, a health seminar, and I want you to charge $29.95. That was the Fat to Fine seminar. The church was packed. And I did it on weight loss because I found that folk didn't give a hoot about health, but they wanted to lose weight. And James says, you know, you need to have a detox product that you talk about when you do the seminar. He said, this is a good detox product. I said, well, I ain't talking about nobody else's detox product. We're going to make our own. And that's how the cleaner came about. God sometimes will give you an idea that appears to have no relation to something else, but he gives you what's called a seed. And when you take the seed and plant the seed and water the seed, it grows up into something that don't even look like the seed. A tomato seed doesn't look like a tomato. An apple seed doesn't look like an apple. A corn seed doesn't look like a corn stalk. The seed doesn't look like the fruit. He gave me a seed, but out of that, and the cleaner costs $29.95. Well, it used to be $29.95. It's $31.95 now because we went up on it. But because of that, of being obedient to that seed, 2 things. I was obedient to that seed, and I was in partnership with somebody who was smarter than I was. But God knew all of that. He didn't tell me, why don't you make a detox product? No, what he said was, do a 3-day seminar, which I didn't want to do. Do a 3-day seminar on health and charge $29.95, which I also didn't want to do. So he gives me this stuff that I didn't want to do. And out of it comes something that sells millions of dollars every year. If you can learn to be obedient to God, you learn to understand sometimes the seeds God gives you doesn't look like the fruit. And you're looking at the seed saying, what is this? What am I going to do with it? I don't want to do this. And you're not understanding it's the seed. And God is saying, my child, if you take this seed, do like I tell you with this seed, it'll grow into something you won't even recognize, but it'll feed you and it'll bless you beyond what you can imagine. I have a meeting every week with my 4 boys. And in one of the weeks, George closed out in prayer. And he said, I thank you, God, for each one of my brothers, because each one of them has a gift, and each one of them is the best in these areas. And George began to name out the areas. And he says, my oldest brother, Nate, is the best engineer and mechanic that I've ever seen. He can fix anything, figure out anything. He has this gift. He says, my second oldest brother, Joe sees. He said he has a focus on finance, and he's the best that I've seen on that. And Joe sees has made a declaration. He told us, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30 years old. And he's on the way to that. But that's like George putting this thing on the wall. See, they know, now, that's not the best in the world, because there's plenty of people 30 years old is way bigger than a millionaire. But he has a goal. And then he said, and my brother Christian is a musical genius. So he saw the best in each one of his brothers, just like God can see the best in you. And he can see the talents and the abilities that you have. And if we take these seeds and plant them and water them and fertilize them, oh my goodness, what we can be. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you to try to be the best in the world at anything. I don't think I'm going to be the best in the world. At one point, we did have the largest inspirational email on the face of the planet, to my knowledge. So at one point, we were the best in the world. But I'm not striving to be the best in the world. And I don't want you to particularly strive to be the best in the world. What I want you to strive to be is one thing: better. Better. See, we may not all be able to be the best in the world at anything. But what we can do is we can be better. And if you become incrementally better every day, that's what happens when you study. If you study every day, your knowledge will increase a little bit every single day. And almost if you start saving and investing, your money will increase a little bit every single day. So my charge to you today is not necessarily gear yourself to try to be the best in the world, because that may not be what God has spoken to you. He spoke to us about our products in the company, so we do make sure it's the best in the world in that arena. But some of you may not be able to be the best in the world. But what you can do is you can be better. And you can be better every single day that you wake up. You can say to myself, what am I going to do to improve me today? And if we have that mentality, because I can guarantee you, you are not staying even. Nobody stays even. You either get better or worse. It's a law of physics. It's the third law of thermodynamics, having to do with the increase of entropy in the universe. Bottom line is saying this: left to itself, everything gets worse. Everything decays without an input of energy. If you don't do anything to improve you, do you know how easy it is just to get your body to get out of whack? It don't even take any energy for that. I mean, you don't do anything. It's just you may be fine today, but you look at yourself a few years, you may be real fine right now. Don't put any energy in that and see what happens. If you leave it by itself, it's going to get worse. But if you wake up every day and you say to yourself, today I am going to get a little bit better. And if you have a plan of action to do that, you might just look around after a time and find that you are the best. You may not be the best in the world, but you might be the best in the city if you keep getting better. And that is my charge to you on this day. As God has told us, strive to be the best. I tell you, strive to be better. And if we do that every day, what am I doing to be better today than I was yesterday? We'll find ourselves in a real good position. And we might just find ourselves the absolute best. I thank you for joining us today at Brothers of the Word. You can be better. I can be better. We all can be better. Let's do that every single day. If you'd like to send this message to a friend, you can do that absolutely free. Just go to brothersoftheword.com and you can send them this message absolutely free. I want you to also remember, at brothersoftheword.com, when you click the live stream, sermons stream 24/7 all of the time. So you're going to hear a sermon all of the time at Brothers of the Word. When you click the live stream, you're going to hear something. So for those of you who, the minute you stop listening to this message, go and click that live stream or just wait and you're going to hear a sermon. We don't know what the sermon is. God will bring it up for you. Thank you for joining us today at Brothers of the Word, because, brother, you need the Word. From Brothers